you all, and welcome to the February 9th Committee of the Whole meeting.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kind of weird not having Jerry say it like 3 seconds in. One nation. One nation. Next, we have agenda time for citizens to speak. Like to speak. You cannot be here, you can email citizens time to speak, or citizens to speak, I'm sorry, at johnsburg12.org by 3 o'clock of the Committee of the Whole or the board meeting. We have a submission this evening from Kathleen Graham. Dr. Johnson and school board members, please let me begin by recognizing Anna Wolk, Food Service Director, for her obvious commitment to her role and the community, as well as for her communication with families in the district. We greatly appreciate all that Anna and her team does. I have recently been in communication with Ms. Wolk regarding meal pickup days. I did make the suggestion to Ms. Wolk that meal pickups once a week, as the district did previously, was much more convenient for our family with children at home. I would imagine this to be the case for other families as well, considering currently meals are to be picked up 3 times a week. Ms. Wolk suggested I could voice this proposal to the school board. I am aware of other neighboring schools that do a once-a-week meal pickup. This would be a more efficient use of time for all those involved. We appreciate your consideration and all that you do. Thank you, Kathleen Graham. Does anyone here like to speak? And we will go to Annie and the finance report. Yeah.
I think about it every time he says.
I know, every time he says it like that.
It's so funny.
We're going to have Dan said and Tom this evening about operations and maintenance, as well as some other things regarding the focus of that. That's going to talk a little bit this evening about that one, so hopefully we'll make it this time. Before that, I'm going to talk a little bit about finance. So in terms of state funding, as we talked about in the past, funding of the evidence-based funding has still been coming in as federal cents and components each month. In relation to our mandated categoricals, our first and second quarter have been routed and paid, so we're happy to see that. The second quarter was paid in January, so just a month behind its scheduled date. So still tracking better than normal years with this, so we're pretty happy with that so far. In terms of local funding, our 2019 property tax levy that is receivable in 2020, we received all but 0.8%. So of what we budgeted as unreceivable 1%, we've already received more than that, so we're happy to see that we do have one final payment schedule to be received in February. One other note I wanted to make is tax levy. This evening, we're just going to talk a little bit about our short-term borrowing tentative plan for the TWs for this year. We're anticipating bringing the parameters resolution of March 16, 14 for approval. Tentative closing will be May 10th, so we'll only really approximately 1 month of cash in order to make our cash flow. However, we might bring it a little bit earlier in order to close in line with our board meetings a little bit better. So you guys may see that as early as about April 25th, but as late as May 10th. So we're kind of working through that timeline now. Through January 31st, we ended with approximately 100 days cash on hand, which is a lot better than we could have hoped for, considering timing of state funding, the property taxes, and then obviously where we were in the past. Usually we'll be issuing the state up just from May into June. The other thing that we're being really conservative about is the potential reduction or delay of the third and fourth quarter managing category before other state funding that we're uncertain about getting yet. And then potential changes to the property tax payments for this next cycle. If you guys recall, they did extend last year so that the late penalties weren't due until the late penalties for June weren't assessed until September, and the late penalties for September weren't assessed until after December. So we're anticipating that they may be delayed again like they were this past year. So we're going to be conservative in our estimates for state levy. So we'll bring more information to you guys soon. Operations. Dan's going to talk a little bit about COVID and what's happening with our vaccines.
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay if we talk like this? Just some updates in regards to things happening. We keep track of our dashboard on the website that updates what's going on with cases. It's been nice and quiet, which is a nice thing. Updated every Monday. So things have been going well. I do want to give a little bit of, not a little bit, but a lot of kudos to our staff, students, and families for being consistent, following protocols and processes and things like that. So we're going to continue to update that dashboard and keep things rolling. As it relates to trends, what we're seeing, conversations with the health department as it relates to trends and things like that, things have kind of, as we've seen, have come down significantly over the past several weeks. We had a conversation today with the health department where they were talking about how things have stabilized. So I'm not sure we're going to see as much of a decline according to what they're seeing as we have seen. They said it's kind of stabilized right now from what their data has been showing them. So we're going to continue to monitor that. Hopefully we'll continue to see that trend go down. But it's nice to see us getting into some good territory. So the trends have been better. So we're seeing that across the county and even in our own area and throughout the state. So we have heard from the health department too. We had some conversations in regards to their thoughts in regards to the tiers and the phases. They did let our emergency management agency know that do anticipate being in phase 4 for a quote long period of time. So it's going to take some time. They didn't put any parameters on that. They just said be prepared that it's going to be a lengthy time. So if any of those changes come about, I'll be sure to let you know. We did get some new IDPH guidance, if you've seen that, on the Friday, the 5th of February. And I can certainly forward that to work if you haven't seen that. I'm not sure, but I may potentially need to get another doctorate in order to be able to interpret the chart that they had sent in regards to this. They did walk us through it today, and they walked our nurses through it, so we have a little bit better idea. The new chart just is focused on vaccinations and what to do during that time frame and after, so that way we got a little bit of a better idea in regards to the staff. So they were very helpful in regards to that. You probably have seen on the news today, yesterday, it's been kind of a hot topic that the CDC apparently is going to be releasing updated guidance for schools, so we're going to keep track of that. Have not seen anything new from ISB, however, in relationship to that. Conversations with my colleagues both in Lake County and McHenry County in relationship to that. They haven't seen anything, nobody's seen anything yet. I have emailed the state board and said, when can we anticipate some applications? They have not gotten back to me yet. But we hope that sometime updates as it relates to how things are going to change. As you know, the vaccine, our staff is getting vaccinated this week. It has been quite an adventure to be able to get through this, but we do want to start by thanking time slot will be Thursday morning between 7:30 and 12:30 is when D12 staff will be going. We will be going at the same time as D200 staff will be going, so they have rotate that many people through. They have been, we have a final informational meeting tomorrow with staff from Woodstock and the health department for any small changes, but we feel like things are in good shape. I've talked to the Woodstock superintendent this afternoon. Seems like they're good. I do want to say and do a public shout out to Woodstock School District 200 for hosting and doing and having a lot of their staff manage this. I'd like to thank Mike Mullins, who's the superintendent out there. Mike has set this whole thing up for the whole northern part of the county for the schools to go up there. So I want to thank Mike. And of course, we want to make sure that we thank the health department for getting that set up. So we have not received any information as it relates to this when the second dose will come as of yet. We are getting the Moderna vaccine for our staff, so we do know that'll be a 28-day time frame. They haven't provided us any specifics on the So, needless to say, a great deal happening. There's a lot happening here. The next gentleman that's going to talk is dealing with athletics, and I want to turn it over to Ted so he can talk a little bit about IUSA and IESA. I think, Ted, we're getting updates almost at least every day, if not twice a day sometimes, from IHSA in regards to changes and advancements and that. So, Ted's been on top of it. Appreciate that. So, want to touch base on a few things, Ted? That'd be great.
Yeah, I'm not lying or not, but hey, we got a basketball game going on in the gym right now. So the fact that you've asked me a few weeks ago or a month ago if that would have happened, but it's going really well. If you get a chance when this is over to stop down there, it looks a little different, but kids have the opportunity. So part of that is the update. Like Dr. Johnson said, this information is changing very quickly and all the time. I mean, we're getting new guidance from day to day and trying to stay up to it the best we can. As you can see, and as most of you, if you have kids that participate, that seasons are up and running. Like I said, basketball is going on. Boys and girls are both at games today. Cheers, cheering, dancing, dancing, and bowling. They're rolling and they're off and running. And then this spring we will have, or actually I should say this spring, but March, we've got football, soccer, and volleyball scheduled to start in March, with obviously our spring sports coming up in later April through May. Again, we have plans in place for spectators and everything. I feel real comfortable with where we're at and what we have going on. To say it's going to be perfect, like most things, we'll do the best we can with what we have, but you know, I can tell you right now, just having kids back in the building and seeing kids at practice, it makes me feel good inside just because this is what you get into it for the kids, and whether they're in school or they're involved, it's been great. So that's what we're looking at from an IHSA standpoint. And then, now the next step is kind of the junior high athletics. We understand that there's a lot to be still figured out here at the high school. The same goes for the junior high, but I can tell you with the track season, we do have some plans in place to hopefully get some junior high kids an opportunity to participate here towards the end of that junior high season. So right now we're looking at other schools in the area that are potentially going to run track and participate in some wrestling. And as we kind of go through that, we gather more information and collect more data. We're going to look at how we can develop plans to successfully implement our junior high like we've been doing with our high school students. So, like I said, most schools, track's the one that I would say right now has the brightest future. Wrestling, as all of you know, will have its challenges not only at the high school but at the junior high. But right now we're open to all any options to see what we can do to give kids an opportunity. So. A lot of that is just communication and making sure we're reviewing our guidelines and creating it as safe as possible.
How are you addressing student athletes who are playing, like, I'm a volleyball player and a soccer player? I don't even know if they cross over, the sports that will cross over.
That's a great question. Our coaches and our staff have done a great job. We are not putting kids in a position where they will have to pick. Right now, obviously with games going on, it's a different story, but if a kid wanted to play basketball and soccer, there's going to be an overlap between boys soccer and boys basketball. they will have that option because those practice times will be at different times, and we're not scheduling games during that overlap. So with like volleyball, or like you were saying with, I'll use volleyball, girls soccer for an example, there's going to be a 3-week overlap. Those kids will be able to attend both practices, but on the event they have a game, those practices are going to occur probably before a game or after, but if they have to miss being practice because of a game, we're going to allow that. But we've created a schedule so that kids will not be put in a position where they have to choose one over another, and for the most part, they'll be able to do both. I can't say it's going to work out perfect every time, as you know, spring and rescheduled, but in terms of practicing and overlaps, you know, if we got to get an outdoor sport, soccer's going to go right after school, then, you know, basketball will go a little later in the evening, and kids will have the option to do both.
A little more challenge for your schedule.
Slightly.
But thank you for doing it.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think that was a challenge when this came out, at least for the high school. The IHSA did a great job, and, you know, we can make it whatever we want, but the challenge for smaller schools is the sharing of the coaching staff and sharing of the athletes. But, you know, kids have been through a lot already. We want to give them every opportunity to participate in anything they want to do. I wish it would work out perfect all the time. There might be some times where there's going to be a choice, but we've communicated to coaches that they are the adults, and not to put kids in a position where they are going to have to pit against one sport or another, or one coach or another.
I do want to give Ken some kudos on that, because he has shared his, you know, he shares his practice schedule. With different colors to be able to make sure, and the time slots and how everything, it's, I'm not sure it was a heck of a Rubik's Cube to be able to put together, but I do want to give some kudos to be able to, he did a nice job to be able to try to do that as best he can, so. And it communicated well with his coaches, that message to do that as well, so, thanks, Ken.
I just wanted to thank you and staff for getting the YouTube channel. I was able to watch from the beginning to home today.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Are we charging like Marino?
No, it's a free service through our whole account that you can stream right on YouTube. So any event that's going to be in the main gym from here on out will be streamed online through our Johnsburg School Athletics webpage that Coop and our technology department did a great job. We're going to look to access that as well when we get outside. You know, much like we do graduation, we've got it set up for football games. We're going to try to do the same for soccer and a lot of these other events. I know it's tough at, you know, with bowling alleys and different things like that, but you know, when we got to start, it was just kind of thrown in your lap, so we're doing the best of what we had to try to accommodate the needs of many. But, you know, again, we also talk about soccer and football. A lot can change between now and March 19th. I mean, we're not even up to over, it's going to be 33 degrees until late February, so we don't want snow to get rid of it. We're looking at outdoor stuff.
It's time to bring back the AV club.
And thank you guys again for all the support and the willingness to kind of give these kids an opportunity. Like I said, we've got a game going on in that gym. If you get a chance to swing down on your way out, it's a sight, that's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we're going to talk about the maintenance plan and projects that we've been able to complete, and an update on what we're doing to come after the town comes down. So, for 3 years into our long-term operations and maintenance plan that we presented back in February of 2018. It's funny because this is one of the last things we did with you guys right before COVID hit last year. So Tom's going to kind of talk about some of the things that we were able to do despite COVID, and some of the things that we have delayed but are getting back in gear to make sure that we stay on contract with the long-term plan and do the one-time by the end of 2023-24. They originally slated to have them done by the summer of 23 at the latest. We're rotating that schedule just a little bit to 24, but we're still planning to utilize the funding from FY 23 to finish out those projects, just like I'm just recommending. Okay? Roger?
Nice to see everybody again. It was about the same time last year. But glad to be back. Major accomplishments. I'd like to talk about the highlights from this year. Of course, heavily consumed with COVID, social distancing, regarding the schools. about 20 years since those the fields north of the junior high were cut in. If you're familiar with that area, there's two tiers of fields up there. You've got the 3 baseball fields, and then you've got the area with the soccer field, and now it's got the new walking and running track, and then some football courts in the middle of it. In the middle, it's always been wet, and it's always been a spring thing and a fall thing, where it's unplayable. A lot of times we wouldn't be able to use that soccer field up there. In the last couple of years, we've noticed that the groundwater level has been increasing, and so it's been increasingly unplayable up there. So that necessitated us to do something, and we took advantage of August. It was nice and dry this past year, and we put in about 750 feet of drainage piping, probably about 400 of that drain tile wrapped with stone, wrapped with geotextile fabric. So the system's working well. You go up there during the rain or after the rain, it is running like a garden hose. It's definitely doing its job of shedding all the water to the east. We also took advantage of the time when we did some major renovations, or not major, but we did renovations to the D3 concession stand. We had a situation in the spring where we had water infiltration, had a lot of rain with frozen soils. We got water inside the building, ruined a lot of drywall, started some mold issues going on. So we got in there, did a lot of drywall replacement, paint, repairs. We also went ahead and fixed the drainage swale around the north end of the building, just to prevent it from happening again. So there was, the issues were great. It was very minimal rate differential. We were able to cut in the swale to shed all that water to the east as well. So we did that, as well as paint the dugouts and benches out there. Came out really nice. At the high school, we picked up a project from the JPL, converting the Southwest baseball diamond into a combo softball and baseball field. So we finished that up. We were able to finish cutting the infield and going back and grading ball mix and all that. So we finished that. In the buildings, last year we did a pilot program at Greenwood School with the rebuild of 1-unit ventilator. They were on our list as replacements, and looking at rebuilding them versus replacing them, we were able to spend about 75%, and they're completely rebuilt. So it's like it's the same shell, but it has all new parts, all new mechanical cooling, new coils, carries the same warranties, and you don't have issues with having to change footprints and trim and things like that in the classroom. So one of those things that it's like a new unit inside, but you never know it. It was a pretty seamless process. So that worked well the first year, so this past summer we did the other 3. So those are completed. We were able to save some money. At the junior high school, the auxiliary gym, since construction, we've always had a mystery leak in the roof. We were able to locate that this summer. It was actually not the roof, it was the HVAC unit. I had a problem with the way the drainage and the condensation and all that was working, so we were able to fix that. And we also repaired the floor. So we worked with a local floor company, Springfield Davis, and we were able to get that fixed and repaired this year. 2020 focus. Well, focus was preparing the schools for hybrid learning, and that process started in May. Last year, we hit it hard with our summer cleaning protocols, and for the stripping, the waxing, shampooing, carpets, getting everything done that we normally do in the summer. And then once we got into June, we went into the big push for hybrid, cleaning out the classrooms and reducing unnecessary furniture. We use the cafeterias and gymnasiums as kind of a holding area to sort out all the furniture. So we knew what we had and what we could work with. A great example of repurposing is the 3 cafeterias. And we had a lot of computer lab tables that had come out of service, and they were perfect for the social distant lunch area over there. So we every classroom's outfitted, signage, floor markings, I think, you know, it might be a little biased, but I think we've got the best floor markings of any school in Montgomery County. They kind of look like interstate highways, and that was a very time-consuming process, and the crews did a beautiful job getting all that done. The surplus furniture necessitated the rental of some storage space so we could utilize those gymnasiums. And we leased a building out in Greenwood. You see a picture up there, that's all our surplus furniture from the district. Everything is cataloged and accessible. Taking a look at the list here, plexiglass, that was something we got really good at as well. You see all the plexiglass barriers for the reception areas, a lot of teacher desks. We had a lot of requests, especially at the junior high for that. And so the rooms where we had some fixed equipment, computer labs, and our rooms, so we did a lot of that kind of stuff. Spacing and seating, going through this with our custodial group and making sure that proper social distance and, furniture was observed, as well as the floor markings that you see in the cafeterias. Real positive, the junior high and main gym. This has been something we've been looking at for a long time, and it's finally going to happen this spring break. We are going to install a partition in the main gym. So it's going to be one of those folding curtains like you see, like we have in the auxiliary gym, or we have here in this auxiliary gym at the high school. And that will be nice for flexibility for two separate groups, as well as the PE teachers will get a lot of use out of that. 2020, of course, is the deep cleaning and the two-step process. We kind of revamped our sanitizing process and just highlighted it with the daily cleaning with that sanitary food grade sanitizer. I'm sure you've all seen my emails about that stuff. And then once we got Wednesday the deep cleaning with the other disinfectant. So we did a two-step process to make sure we did a thorough disinfection. So gone through that with all of our crews and the transportation staff. That was another big focus. All right, looking forward, spring, summer 2021. The roofs, that's a highlight. The auxiliary gym roof at the junior high was slated for last spring, and so we moved that to this year. And that's estimated to cost $108,000. And we utilized a $50,000 matching grant from HISD that we've already received. We will present the bid documents for that work at the February 23rd board meeting. Once that's complete, we'll have 3 more sections of roof left on our 1 to 5 year priorities from our maintenance plan. Those 3 roofs are here at the high school. One's over our heads here at the auditorium, the auxiliary gym, and then the vocational hallway and band area. Those will be completed the summers 22, 23, and 24. Looking at HVAC, our big thing left out there is the RTUs over Ringwood. Nice thing is we did the large multi-zone units in 2017. Some of it's left is package units that usually are like between 2 and 5 ton units. They don't carry a high price tag each. We've done a good job at maintaining them, keeping up with them. Heat exchangers, mechanical cooling circuits, they're very relatively expensive in comparison to make them. So we audit those twice a year, spring and summer, and we'll replace it as needed. The high school weight room, so a few years ago, we were able to restore some of the weight room equipment, have it powder coated and new pads installed. It's been a few years and we need to do more pad replacement. We were able to locate a company, Mile Pro, out of Chicago. They are going to replace pads at $40 each. And we're going to take advantage. We did receive some donated equipment from Richard Burton. So sports Richard Burton led. And we'll go ahead and for the approximate cost of $2,000, we'll get everything blue and look nice in the high school weight room. So that's going to happen pretty much right away. They're actually, our crews are stripping the pads tomorrow. They're going to pick them up, work on them over the weekend, we'll put them on early next week. So that's in motion right now. We're really excited about the zero-turn mower. For Ringwood Schools, replacing a duck head that's 20 years old. manufactured in 2000. So we definitely got our life out of that, and we'll come here and get back up at the high school. Lastly here, the high school parking lot lighting is a priority. This project for approximately $12,000 is to add a pole light to the back parking lot in the area, in the northern end by the stadium, the Lake Stadium area, the vocational compound, as well as some LED floods in the front to provide some better ambient lighting on the walkways and things like that. To basically bring it up to what we see in the other schools. All right, 2021, beyond the focus, the big opportunity for us is lighting. You know, when we did the renovations in 2016, all of the 4-foot fixtures are all TA lamps. And there's a huge opportunity for operational savings going to LED. The prices have come down big time on LED. And so that's the direction we want to go. Approximately 10,000 volts district-wide, and we plan to update the 32-watt presses to 12-watt LED. They're the same lumens. That's the same brightness. The existing TA lamp light is $20,000 with the new LEDs. Have a lamp light 3 times that, that's $60,000. The A-link's already done. We did that at 17. And the total estimated cost to replace those 10,000 volts district-wide is $45,000. We'll take that over 3 years at $15,000 a year. We'll do the hallways first, then the gyms and the cafes and the classrooms. And the reason for that is we want to make sure we cover those areas that are lit more often to experience that operational savings. There's a 62.5% operational savings for lighting, so we say instantly. The payback is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 years, and with ComEd and CDAC rebates, it could potentially be even sooner. So it's something that will pay for itself really fast. And then we'll also see long-term savings on recycling costs. We'll have to pay to recycle fluorescent bulbs. We'll have to pay to recycle the LEDs, but they'll last a lot longer. Last thing I want to talk about is the high school tennis courts. We've got 2 courts that are existing from the original courts here at the high school, and we've got one that was added in 16. The 2 courts that are original, it's been an annual maintenance of patching cracks and touch painting and getting them going. We definitely need to address the pavement out there. It needs to be milled and repaved. So we're taking a look at different options for that, as well as potential relocation, and just all the different options that we're going to bring you recommendations at a future board meeting. The North Court also is settling a little bit, so we'll take all that into account, and then we'll bring you some ideas and recommendations. Any questions about projects?
Not necessarily about projects, but most, if not all, of the information that you went over is still program. That's something that's relatively new that we've only been using for now, a couple of years, I think, since it's been in. So how's that working for you with going through? I know you guys were super excited about using it.
Oh yeah. No, it's working great. It's worked out best in the areas of work requests and things like that. The communication between requesters, teachers, staff, and the maintenance of tracking the hours and things. And it's also done a nice job at pinpointing like where's our maintenance, where are maintenance dollars going in time. So yeah, it's been working pretty well. A lot of data entry in that system. So it's definitely a work in progress, but it has been helping. I appreciate you bringing that up. And that's something. It's like when you get used to something, when you live it, you kind of don't see the forest with the trees kind of deal. And that has been a huge thing, is the preventative maintenance piece, because everything that we do monthly, annually, every 6 months, every 3 months, whatever the case may be, is all on that system. And that's really where the benefits have been, because everything prior to that was always on calendars, and I'd send emails and follow up and all this. It's automated, all of that stuff. And so the guys get it automatically. It has the locations of all of the different pieces of equipment, the maintenance steps. It makes it nice when someone changes roles, it's there instantly. And the resources are all there instantly too. Because that's one of the big things, just having the information on those different pieces of equipment and then the different maintenance supplies that are attached to it. That's been huge. So I'm glad Amy brought that up, because, you know, like I say, I live it and I'm so used to it, you know, I don't think about it. But that's a huge component. That's helped us tremendously.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
I just wanted to know really fast and going back, everything on the spring and summer 2021 focus, we have, talk a little closer? Okay. We have available funding within this year's FY21 budget for this, so that's why it's slated to be done in the spring and summer. We have already received the $50,000 for the group as well. Okay. Everything beyond that will continue to begin in FY22. Okay, the last thing I wanted to note this evening is recommendation for the approval of extra duty stipends. This year, we have not brought any recommendations for our non-athletics yet to you guys. We have had several different groups that have been working with the students throughout the whole entire year. We didn't know what it would look like, and it's very different so far, but we've had a lot of individuals doing a lot of work in these groups. So for the non-athletics, you'll see the ones that we're recommending for full stipends for this year. This makes up about 30% of the total non-athletic stipends that we usually approve within the year. Other groups are starting to begin processes. Some have started, we just haven't quite gotten their deals completely done yet. So we'll be bringing other ones later in the semester, but those will likely be on a quarterly basis. As for athletics, you'll remember that you had approved 1/3 for contact days for many of the stipends. We're recommending for these ones that are already beginning their seasons to be approved for full stipends to make up the other 2/3 of that. So we're bringing that for recommendation for approval at the next board meeting. That's all I can say. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
But I do want to give Tom a shout out and kudos. They've been great with different curveballs and things like that. They've been thrilled. So the staff has really been doing a nice job. They're still maintenance, and they've done a great job, Tom. Appreciate it. So you get a chance to see the hallways. It looks like an interstate with virgin lanes and everything else. So I remember Dave and the boys out there and the ladies out there with the, stanchions. Oh yeah, the stanchions. I don't know another district that's got stanchions. I don't know what either.
So previously in September, we did bring back our ELPS and ECE population to return to learn. We were glad to bring them back this time 2 days before the rest of the school had started on January 19th. So currently we do have 20 students across the district. They do attend all days of the week. Wednesday is a half day for them. ECE does just the morning session, but the rest of the population is coming 4.5 days. By doing that, we were able to increase their academic day from what they were attending previously. They were going home, depending on the building, either before lunchtime or just after lunchtime. They weren't getting recess with their peers. And then this time we were able to to incorporate some of the specials classes. So down at Ringwood, they're now going into a music class, into the learning center. At the junior high now, they're going into Spanish and going into arts. So we're able to kind of give them a little bit of the exploratories as well with their peers. I know we've talked previously about some of the supports, so some social emotional supports. Social workers, since the children are back in the building, have rearranged their schedules. They're seeing kids in person, and by doing that, they are getting a better response. It's very difficult to kind of manage when your time slot was. They would do it like maybe during a PE time, which was kind of a downtime, and kids may not have been on their computers, so they weren't always getting their time with their students. So they were able to rearrange things so that they're seeing kids on their A or their B day. By doing that in person, they're actually increasing the work completion rate because they do go over their staggered grade checks. They're meeting with them after school as well, so an hour or so at the junior high school and the high school time, they're meeting with kids either virtually or in person to build those connections and to teach the kids how to advocate in a remote setting. You wouldn't necessarily think that it would be a different route, but when you're able to kind of stay after class and talk to a teacher about a question, it's very, very different than doing that over a remote setting. A lot of kids are kind of skittish about putting a question into the chat, or raising their hand, or saying it out loud. So kind of just teaching them how to advocate, how do you reach out to somebody for help when you're not in that building or you're not in front of them. A lot of parents, I work with a lot of our parents. Most of the things are about staying engaged during remote learning, and the other would be assistance with getting the kids back into that routine. So a lot of kids either kind of trouble getting up and back into coming into the school, getting back into having that homework on a daily basis, or how do you flip between being in person and then going back to remote? So kind of that routine of how do you kind of get back into on a different day, a different routine. A lot of them are using the Remind app. Nothing against Dr. Johnson, but we have an awful lot of emails coming back, and parents weren't necessarily always responding to them. So going back to the first one of that response rate, social workers were kind of putting out an email like, hey, don't forget we have a meeting at Wednesday at 11:30, and parents weren't always seeing that. So they went to the Remind app. They actually got more connected and engaged responses from parents using that. It was quick, it was easy. Parents could kind of see it, it would pop up on their phones, and they would kind of either do a quick, like, oh, thanks for the reminder, or a question, things like that. Academically, we do have several groups that have come back in person for 4 days. Again, we see an ALPS population. The high school resource, our junior high school staff, and then now each of the buildings has their own protocols for bringing back these struggling learners. They all have their own, but they're looking at T's and F lists, maybe at the junior high school and high school level, and then supporting kind of from the bottom up. I know Laura and I had conversations about how we bring more kids back in. Each principal has their own kind of process to do it, and they've been reaching out to families consistently. And Terry and I talked last week, and she'll talk again tonight about the MTSS program. That's another academic support we've put in place before and after school, and then putting the process of the summer support program in as well. Any questions on these types of supports? In district and outside of district supports, again, we do work with Chris McCarthy, who's the Anita mental health counselor. We do not pay for him. That was funded by the foundation, Anita Foundation. The collaboration with teachers, both between the teachers and then as well as the social workers with the teachers. We have PBIS incentives. The different schools were doing their different incentive programs. And again, the addition of the MTSS up at the high school level to alleviate the stress of falling And then I've talked previously about our teaching assistants tutoring, either after school, that hour, or for junior high school and high school, as well as in service days. They meet one-on-one with different kids. Kids are able to sign up for slots, or teachers can recommend them. Outside supports that our social workers have been working with families on counseling referrals, so rose plans, things like that, some food bank referrals, the D12 family depot, although it's not open the way we have previously, we are going in, grabbing some of that supplies that families would need, and then they're just coming to the district office to pick that up. We've done a lot of winter clothing, some boots, some shoes, gloves. In the school year, we can some backpacks, school supplies, things like that. And then overall hospitalizations, this year total, I've only seen 7 bills, which is a decrease from last year. There were 20 hospitalizations, 32 hospitalizations, but like 20 students, so some had multiples. So we have seen a decrease in that this year. Any questions about the supports we've got in place?
Fran, in the return to learn slide, or bringing kids back in for 4.5 days, some kids, those be staffed by certified teachers, right?
That's the population, yes. And again, they asked for that. They just feel that the kids do much, much better in person. Those are the significant learners. Parents were typically having to sit next to the kids the entire time that they were sitting next to their computers. So staff had asked for them to come in person on Wednesdays.
And then for the other classes, like later in slide 3, we talk 4-day in-person learning. Are those also we're talking about the ALPS classes?
Those are, no, so those would be in addition to, well, the ALPS and ECU were there 4.5. But like the Johnsburg High School resource classes, so those would be your direct instruction classes. So special education teacher teaching special education kids.
So that's just struggling learners that like people on IEPs?
It could be others. Could just be the DF list at the high school. Could just be, somebody with struggling in the home life, kind of getting that whole routine down. Just does much better in person and kind of having that face to face. So kind of different.
And those
Doesn't
are also
necessarily
certified
have-
staff?
Oh yes.
What Gary's asked about, they're just following their typical bell schedule, they're going class to class?
Yeah, so rather than just coming in on an A day, Monday, Thursday, they're actually coming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On Wednesday. Any other questions?
Hello, Terry.
I did not wear my glasses. I'm old, like the old hit very fast, and now I can see nothing.
I just want to know, Terry, if you've repeated any cows yet?
Huh?
No.
I try not to.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was a little festive, and fit nicely in that particular space. I just wanted to go over again, just some of the updates. I know it's only been like a month on some of these, but those goals that were mentioned in the recovery learning loss section of that plan. So I linked that plan for you if you would like to take a look at that. So some of these are just going to be a quick review. So in terms of Tier 1, same thing is going on as last time. We're monitoring that instruction. I'm still attending a lot of meetings, which is much easier for me to do, to be honest, in a remote fashion, because I don't have to travel between buildings. I can go from one Zoom meeting to the next. Providing a lot of guidance, especially in terms of our upcoming, well, we just finished our benchmarking with D12 and math. Still reviewing DNF lists at the junior high and high school. So as for Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction interventions, still ongoing monitoring of those interventions, especially now that we've gotten our benchmarking data. We're going to take a look at the effectiveness of some. Or sometimes it's not the intervention that is the problem with the child. It is we have not matched the child to the correct intervention. So sometimes it's just looking at what are the specific needs. The real update becomes in our potential before and after school programs. We're still, again, waiting for, when I wrote this, it was the 1st of February. The window closed on the 5th, so I literally just got the aggregate data on Monday for all of these. So we're putting stuff together. Fran and I are talking and putting together all sorts of fun spreadsheets, but really trying to identify what students need help, what do they need help with, and how we're going to structure these programs. So a lot of that information is kind of a repeat from the last presentation. But looking at the high school, we did want to try something, especially with the DF list. So the DF list indicated, and I said research. What I mean by that is the research on 9th grade being a critical year for students to be on track to graduate. So looking at the DF list, it indicated a need to focus on math. So what we did is we took Algebra 1 students with the help of a high school staff member who actually offered to help out with this program and actually came to Kevin and myself saying, what can I do? So we're like, well, we've got jobs for you. So one math teacher is serving as a building coordinator of this particular program. We're starting small. We want to see, we've never done anything like this. We want to kind of start with a small group of students. And we just want to look at Algebra 1. So what we did was we actually assessed the Algebra 1 students. We actually gave them the first semester final exam, but not as an exam. We gave it to them a little at a time, and actually made a lot of the questions more written to actually see what they understood rather than multiple choice. So that performance on that assessment was broken down by learning standard per student, and that program that we purchased, Formative, is how they did that. It's very cool. It actually came up with a spreadsheet and it had all the standards and how the kids did on all the standards. So it was really cool. And then we grouped students into support tiers based on grade and number of concepts to be mastered and teacher input. I won't go over all this, but we did come up with a basically entrance and exit criteria like we have for the entire district. Again, on-ramps and off-ramps are what we believe in. So we don't want them to be there forever. The other thing about this program, again, because that research on 9th grade, they really need to be on track to graduate. We're like, look, obviously you failed Algebra 1 because you're missing key first semester Algebra 1 concepts. So that's what we did when we did the assessment. We identified the concepts they were missing. We said, look, if you go through this program, which you're either attending before school, after school, or both, we're going to work on those concepts, and if you can demonstrate mastery of those standards. You can show us, not just once, this was my criteria, you can't just show us once, you got to show us multiple times that you have mastered these, then we will give you the opportunity, if you got an F, to give you a B-. So, again, we're piloting this. We thought this is a better way to probably attract students to this program than going, hey, you'll have to go to summer school. Again, our goal is to keep our 9th grade students on track to graduate rather than have summer school or repeating the entire semester in the fall where they can possibly be co-enrolled into math classes. Which is tough. Again, I just linked to some research. It's a critical year for, article that has research in it, critical year for high school success.
Jerry, what do you say, demonstrate?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, the D- still is the best grade to do that.
I'm negotiating that right now with the Algebra 1 teachers.
I'm just curious because it brings up the point of, if you have someone that, so many different variables out there,
Yep.
you have a student that does not connect remotely.
Yep.
It's not because they're not trying, it's just whatever, it's a challenge for them.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah, I'm talking with the teachers right now because I'm like, well, look, I know the exam didn't cover every single concept in the standards. I go, but if they're showing, and again, I don't want to get into, how many, but because It's a pilot program, and that's the point, is to kind of work some of this out. So we're kind of having discussions right now. It's like, well, what if they do really well? Is a D- good? So I'm kind of seeding them with that. We haven't gotten there yet, but
It almost kind of follows the same philosophy of, like, I think, Pascal, standard.
yes, yeah.
So it kind of follows that same basis. That's right.
Yeah, we're really focusing more on, we need you to understand algebra 1 concepts, because you're going to go into geometry, and you're going to go into algebra 2, and you're going to need all these, rather than word completion. So that's really where we're trying to go. And again, this is new to a lot of our teachers, so that's why I said let's just focus small, let's try a pilot program with our 9th grade students. We would love to expand this to geometry and once we evaluate the program. But geometry is mainly a 10th grade class, so we're like, let's put our 9th graders first. But we will definitely keep you updated on how this is going. But we just got the ball rolling, and these are the plans. As a matter of fact, here's our timeline. We sent out the parent interest.
When you say they have to demonstrate multiple times, what do you mean by multiple?
For example, if they're having problems, if we have students that can't rearrange an equation, like we've got multiple variables, solve for x, solve for y, solve for z. They can't just solve for x one time and go, oh, mastery. No, let's ramp the complexity up a little bit, now solve for x. They have to do it in multiple modes and multiple complexities to show us that they've got mastery, to the standard, whatever the standard says. That's just basic assessment principles. It's like, once could have been a fluke. Well, actually, it's science. If you ever do a basic science experiment, you have to do at least 3 trials, so you know your first 2 weren't, lucky to draw. So like, let's make sure that you really understand the concept. So we sent out the parent interest form Friday. We've only gotten 4 responses so far, but our teacher is calling all the parents now, and is also going to talk to parents at conferences. What's your number? Well, the total students that we identified, I want to say it's either 19 or 14. It's in the teens. So again, we thought, to us, when we were discussing this, that if we can get one child to go from F to a D, it's still a start. It's still worth it. So their deadline is there. I would like to read all the dates, but we're looking at running this until about spring break, and then kind of reevaluating the program. Again, this position, he's put a lot of time and work in this, and he's doing the grade sheets, and he's earned every penny. But we are finding potentially, because of these learning gaps existing for more than just this year, it's awesome right now to have someone who's in the math department talking to colleagues, what can we do, how can we do things to implement this on the ground. So we are looking to kind of expand this as a math MTSS coordinator role, and that'd be a stipend position. But obviously, we're not ready to bring the dollar amount yet. We want to see, he's keeping track of all his hours, so we're kind of seeing what the hours would be, so we can but just giving you a heads up that might be coming. As far as summer school, still a little early to tell. We did send out an interest survey to staff to see how many staff would be interested. Our biggest issue with running a summer school program every year is getting staff to staff it. So I'm like, look, let's see how many people are interested. Right now, I have 19, and those are both certified and non-certified. They will be contacted as we finalize our plans. It's a lot. And I'm happy that we had somebody.
We're a little anxious when that went up.
Yeah, I was like, please just 5. I literally hope 5 would have been an
5
awesome
is a
number.
great number.
I wanted 2 teachers for a math summer school last year, and I got 1. So, and that was it. All right, so Dan asked me to update you on, it's a teacher, I should have said educator preparation standards. ISB released these in December. They are called Culturally Responsive Teaching and Leading Standards. They are actually standards for colleges and universities who have approved programs that college students go through these programs, and at the end, ISB says, your program met all our standards, we're giving you a license. So that's really what this is. These are ISB standards for licensure if you run a teaching program at your college or university. I say all that stuff, but really the difference is these are not content standards. Those are the Illinois Learning Standards. And these will not be taught to students. These are taught to, well, not to K-12 students. They'll be taught to college students who are going through programs to become a teacher or become an administrator. So I think there was even on that, just to clarify that. Any questions on that?
So, you know, we did talk about that. Added to those, the concern is that they could potentially add to the teacher shortage that's already out there. Increasing some stuff, so we have
Anything to add before we move on to business? All right, our next Board of Ed meeting will be right here on the 23rd, 2 weeks from today, in this same spot at 7 p.m. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? There we go, there we go.